Hello again and welcome to, I guess, is it the Coming Spurs podcast? I don't know what this show is. It's our preview shows on Fridays. We've not quite worked it out. But yes, it's the same kind of drill, but we're going to have a bit more content on a Friday. Why not? We've got our own channel. We can do what we want now. So you know the faces by now, hopefully. It's me, Dan. We've got Karl, top left. I think, is it top right? Wherever you are, I don't know. Yeah, he's
top
up
somewhere.
there.
Top somewhere, yeah.
He's up there somewhere. And also, I know down below for certain is Patrick. Patrick, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, man. What's going on? How you doing, peoples? Let's get cracking. Let's get cracking.
Absolutely, yeah, all good. Looking forward to the weekend, and we're looking forward to Crystal Palace tomorrow. So it's probably going to be a bit of a lighter stance than our usual podcast. Not that they're not fun anyway, but just kind of literally just a bit of freestyling, really. I've got some notes, but no real questions. So I'm just going to literally fire notes and build a show around that. So let's make a case for the defence first, Karl, because I have no idea who's going to be playing that centre-back. Do you?
Yeah, tough one, isn't it? I think, obviously, all things working out perfectly, Davinson would have been in there alongside Dyer again, I'm guessing. It's worked for the past 3 games, so you wouldn't have touched that. But obviously, Davinson going off with Colombia has kind of ruled him out, and that has created a bit of a headache for us now, isn't it? If it's me and I'd go the way I'd want to go, I think, Rondon's only started training this week, so I can't see him being fit enough to join in. I'd be moving Tanganga into the middle alongside Dyer, and obviously see the start of Emerson Royal at right back and get him in and give him a game. And if we don't think he's fit enough, then I'd put Doherty out there, because I think, that centre half position's a real important one, and I wouldn't want to take risks there. So for me, I'll be moving Tanganga inside, because he's had a brilliant start to the season, and just let him partner Dyer and sort the right back position out.
Patrick, is that something that you would agree with?
Yeah, 100%. So I go Tanganga and Dyer at centre back, Emerson Royal at right back, obviously Reguilón left back. That speaks for itself. And then you've got the back 4. So it's obviously it's a back 4 that's not been tried and tested yet, but we should have enough, ideally, to beat Crystal Palace away from home. And then that kind of beds us in for the bigger games coming up. So yeah, with the circumstances and what we got going on, I think that is a good lineup.
It is, but there's always a nagging doubt that you've got injuries, you've got an international break, you've got Palace that are hard to beat. We haven't beaten them there since 2018, I believe. So this isn't a given when you factor in all those intangibles. But Karl, we'll get predictions later. But how do you just see the game going tomorrow lunchtime? Is scheduling going to be an issue to start with?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? We never like those midday kickoffs on a Saturday, do we? And as you say, Dan, especially after an international break where everyone's been away, just going to come back, you've kind of got to get back in that groove again, haven't you? And play with players that you haven't played with now for a week or so. And as you rightly said, Selhurst Park is not an easy place to go for sure. Last season, the similarities between what we're going to do Saturday to what's going on this Saturday are really freakish. We were top of the league at that point last season. Then we went there, got a draw, didn't play well, and the season just went downhill from that point, really. And this is so similar. Been on a good run of form, and now all of a sudden we get Palace again. I think this will be a tight game. They're just coming off the back of a good draw at West Ham, aren't they? Which right now is a good point at their place. So I think they'll be up for it. I'm not looking forward to this one. I think it'll be tight, and there'll only be one goal in it, I think, if either team are going to win it.
Well, Patrick, I mentioned injuries, and to be fair, the list is a bit too long for our liking, quite uncomfortable. So, Heung-min Son, for example, bruised something, I can't remember what, but it doesn't look good. Do you reckon he'll start come tomorrow lunchtime?
That's it. I think they said he bruised his thigh. So,
That's the thigh.
Yeah, for cautionary measures, he didn't play his last international game. So, they were saying that we might get 30 to 40 minutes out of him. Bergwijn or Bergwijn, however you pronounce it, he's injured as well. His foot. Oliver Skipp came off injured. So, yeah, considering those are 3 of our main key starters and they're all injured or carrying slight niggles and knocks, it doesn't bode well, does it? Considering that we're already quite thin because of what's happened over in Brazil and Argentina. So, a tough one. I think we have to start Son, and then we see how the game goes. Do we even have the firepower on the bench in depth at the moment to have him on the bench when I'm not sure who would bring him in his place? So, yeah, I think he starts and then we just manage him in or ease him in.
Well, Karl, talking of firepower, we mentioned Brian Hill earlier in the week, didn't we? So could this be his opportunity? Whether it's from the start will depend on whether Son is fit. But Patrick has mentioned who could come off the bench. That could be the man, especially if it's 0-0, for example. You need a game changer.
Yeah, that's right. I think, the one thing you can think, if Son does start, which, I think he will, I think, the midweek was just a precaution. So I think Son will start, but you don't know how long you might get out of him. So as you say, in the second half, I would say if you've got Gil on the bench, then I'll be quite happy to see him come on because I like what I've seen of him so far. As I said the other night, he's not afraid to get on the ball and try and do things. And for me, that's a good sign. So, yeah, I definitely think, he could get a run out and he might be the unknown quantity that Palace won't know too much about. So if Son, if it isn't working and Son's starting to flag, then, yeah, why not get him in? Definitely.
And Patrick, you mentioned Oliver Skipp there. A lot of people are concerned that he's not going to be able to play tomorrow. Is that a measure of how good Oliver Skipp has become or how few options we actually have in the centre of midfield?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. We saw the progression of Oliver Skipp last year at Norwich. He was pretty much voted their player of the game, every match. Also won player of the season. I know a few Norwich fans said that was because we bombarded and basically rigged the voting every time. It was voting time. So I'm not sure, if it's a real measure how good he was there. But all the talks were that he was a great player last year for Norwich. And you can see, even though he's been thrown in at the deep end, he's kind of adapted and so far he's looked comfortable and good in his position. So it's a credit to him, but it also is a bit worrying that he's been thrown in at that deep end and he hasn't had a chance to essentially learn his trade and be bedded in. You just literally had to throw him in the deep end. And luckily for us, he hasn't sunk, he's swam. So I hope that he plays because, again, if he doesn't, then it'll probably be Winks and Højbjerg. And I'm not sure if that's enough firepower in the middle to control a game, which we should be controlling and dictating. So it just does leave a few questions if Skipp doesn't start. But credit to him, but also it is quite worrying on our side in terms of it's a long season. We're in a lot of competitions. We need a bit more, depth there.
Well, Patrick, I'll stay with you. I'll ask you the $1 million question. Actually, I'll ask you the $60 million question. With Oliver Skipp potentially being out, would you start Ndombele tomorrow?
I would, yes, I would.
He's gone for it.
Let's go. Tangi, have you seen the new hair? He's got the Super Saiyan yellow hair now, so he's ready to evolve. And we're going to see Tangi hopefully step up. He's been added to the like Karl said last week, or this week, sorry, on Monday. He's been added to the Europa Conference League squad. He said he's willing to fight for his place now, and the window's closed, so he has to pretty much get back on board if he wants to, basically cement himself as a player that can essentially play for France in the World Cup. So yeah, it's time to get him in. Let's throw him in and see how he does. We need that creativity. We need a player there that can drop a shoulder, have a turn of pace, create something, and also keep the ball ticking over, which is something that Skipp and Højbjerg do well to a degree, but they don't have that final pass or that vision that Tangi has, or the chance to beat a man and basically be that line breaker or zone breaker, which Tangi can do so well.
Karl, we've got to look at an award that's been given out. It's gone to Nuno. He's the manager of the month. I guess when you're top of the table in that first month of the season, it's very hard to give the accolade to somebody else. But that said, is it deserved?
Yeah, put it this way, this was the most stonewall manager of the month award for me. 3 games, 3 wins, no goals against. You've beaten Man City as well on the first day of the season. So if he hadn't got that award, you would have had to question what's gone on there that makes him not get that. So for me, it's well deserved because he came into, given the Kane stuff in the summer, he came into a really unsettled ship, I think, at the start of the season, and he's turned that around nicely.
Of course, Patrick, when you get an award such as that, there's always the threat of the curse, isn't there? That curse is usually not winning. Is that curse going to be in play tomorrow?
Oh, mate, you couldn't write it. Like Karl said, Crystal Palace away is never an easy game. First kickoff on a Saturday, again, is never easy. That BT Sport 12:30 fixture is something I always dread. If it goes well, we're flying for the whole weekend and I can get onto all the other boys. But if it doesn't, the whole weekend to get pelters from everyone else. So Selhurst Park away is never an easy game. And like you said, he's just 3 on the bounce, 3 wins, 3 clean sheets. He's been now awarded manager of the month. So it's all written to hope for, to go wrong. But let's just hope we can, Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. That's what I can say. I'm definitely not taking Crystal Palace lightly at all. It will be tough.
No, and we shouldn't. But at the same time, we should be optimistic. We are top of the table. It's no fluke, of course. So obviously, the only fear with the international break is that the momentum is halted, isn't it? The reset button is pushed. You have to go again. And as we kind of mentioned, there's a lot of factors that make you think it's not going to be easy. And Palace are certainly looking for their first win of the season in terms of the league as well, Karl. So it's a new era. I know we speak to Max on our Real Football Cast show, and he's obviously excited about a new era. They haven't quite got the results that perhaps their performances deserve. What threat will they offer tomorrow?
Yeah, I think, they've always suffered with a goal scorer over the last few seasons, haven't they? That's been something that has kind of been bugging them a bit. But, they had the start at Chelsea, which no one really gave them a hope for. So I think they probably would have kind of written that game off, essentially, because Chelsea at home are going to be too strong for them. But then, they got a draw away at Brentford. Then that draw at home to Brentford, which I think they would have been disappointed about, because that would have been the game, I think the first game at home, they'd have been looking to get something. And again, that lack of goals just kind of really hurt them on the day. They go away to West Ham, and that is a real tough fixture at the moment for anybody. So, to be 2-1 down, they showed some good character. They got themselves back in it and managed to get a draw. I think they'll find that's a really boosting, morale boosting result for them. And I think it will give them a bit of a bounce going into this game at home. I just think the one good thing on our side is I don't see them having a striker that's going to worry and score too many goals. We just got to make sure we marshal that midfield. And obviously Gallagher, he's a big threat.
Well, you mentioned a striker. I've got in my notes, Odsonne Edouards. Patrick, could it be a perfect debut if he plays, that is, on Saturday? I mean, I've been a big fan of his, and I know people go, Scottish football is, you're only beating Dundee United 6-0, whatever. But he knows where the goal is. I wouldn't have been too miffed if Tottenham had signed him during this window. That's gone. That's not going to happen. We might have to wait another couple of years. But what do you make of the French international, or French under-21 international, I have to say?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him play a few times, and he's looked good on some occasions, and on other occasions he's kind of just faded into the background and gone missing, so to speak. So there's definitely a talented player there. He's still young. Obviously, it's a big step up, but he'll be full of beans and full of energy, and obviously looking to prove his point against obviously a good and big Spurs team at home in front of his fans for the first time. So I'm pretty sure the manager will start him, and we just need to do what we've been doing defensively and maintain him. I mean, I know it's a new lineup, so to speak, defensively, but we've contained better players. No disrespect to him so far. So hopefully we can, Sherwood and keep him at bay, and obviously we score a couple of goals and get the 3 points. But he will be a threat. He will be a threat. There's no doubt about that, and he'll be hungry and obviously up for it.
Karl, will the same kind of threat come from Wilf Zaha?
Yeah, I mean, Wilf's a good player, isn't he? As much as he can be very inconsistent, but if he's on his day, then he is certainly a player that you need to be very wary of. It'll definitely cause you problems. And obviously, if he tries to target that right-hand side where we know we may be slightly weaker, if Emerson gets to play, then we don't know how he's going to perform. So Palace might think, well, that's a great avenue for us to try and get down, attack, and give this guy trouble. If Doherty plays, you wouldn't fancy Doherty up against Zaha if he's on fire. But it just will depend on what Zaha turns up, to be honest, because if we get the Zaha is on fire, then he is a match winner for them. If he's his usual inconsistent self, then he can sometimes be a problem for them, holding on to the ball too long, maybe not making the right pass when he should, and that can sometimes work against them. But he's definitely a player you've got to keep your eye on, because, like I say, he is a match winner if he's on fire for the day.
Well, Patrick, if you're Emerson Royal, for example, and you're playing tomorrow against Zaha, that's the one-on-one battle, would you be giving him a kick into Rosette early on, or is that only going to make him angry? How do you sort of deal with him? Because obviously when Zaha's angry, he's got a point to prove, and he actually ends up playing better. He has a whinge, but then he kind of silences his critics with a goal. So if you're making your Premier League debut, how do you deal with Zaha?
Yeah, I think Emerson will have to back off for the first couple of minutes just to assess his pace, and just obviously he would have been briefed, and he'll know Zaha's a trickery and slippery customer. He'll have to leave a mark or two just to let him know that he's there. But I wouldn't, like you said, I wouldn't antagonize Zaha. You don't want to do that, because angry Zaha is a world class Zaha. You don't want to get him angry because that's when he turns up a level and usually, like you said, does something that will win the match, either provide a goal or a nice slick assist. So yeah, to be fair, at the moment we haven't seen the best of Zaha this season. So just back off him, let him ease into the game. Well, not ease in, let Emerson Royale ease into the game. It's a new league. Obviously, he's got to get used to the tempo of the match, and then hopefully he can do his thing.
Okay, I've got in my notes any other business. Is there anything else that you want to chat about that we haven't mentioned in either this show or Monday, Karl?
No, I don't think so. I mean, obviously, it was just the international break was very Spursy, wasn't it? In that sense that, with everything that kind of went on with the injuries, we thought we'd had enough with the whole Lo Celso, Sanchez and Romario business. And then next thing all of a sudden you start getting all these injuries. So it was just a really Spursy international break, wasn't it? Twitter was in meltdown after the Skipp injury and Son injury. Everyone complaining about the transfer window, but I think we'll see that those injuries are not as bad as we thought, and we'll be okay. So yeah, hopefully we get the win we need to keep us going and keep us top.
And Patrick, anything you'd like to add from a Tottenham point of view this week?
Let's just get the 3 points, a couple of goals, another clean sheet, ideally. And yeah, let's just keep the momentum. Crystal Palace away is a game that we should be winning. I know it's a tough game, but yeah, let's just get the 3 points and then we can just relax and see what else unfolds. So yeah, let's go for it. Let's be optimistic as fans. We've done well so far. We need a couple more goals. I hope Dele Alli gets on the score sheet because he's played well in each of the games, but he hasn't got that final goal or assist that he should have got. So yeah, Dele to score a couple. I think Kane will come good as well. Let's get the 3 points.
Right then, Patrick, with that bonanza of goals, I'm interested to get your prediction. What are you saying? Blimey.
3-1. I think we'll concede. Yeah, but I think we'll score a couple of goals. I think this is the game where we all start clicking together, hopefully. So yeah, 3-1. Dele Alli, 2 goals, and Kane with a goal.
Oof, right. He's gone big there, hasn't he, Dan? Dele Alli too. Oh, he's flexing. He is flexing.
Karl, have you got a more mild-mannered prediction for me?
I think I might have. Yeah. I can't. No, I think, like as Patrick said, I think we're going to concede. I think this will be the game where we concede our first goal of the season. I think just the changing of centre halves and that international break will have kind of just been a little bit disruptive for us. But I'm going to go 2-1. But like I say, I think it'll only be the odd goal that kind of wins it. I'll go 2-1. I get Kane to get the winner. But a really tight game and one that I don't think will be easy viewing for us as fans. I mean, it never is, but this one I think would definitely be tense viewing. And we might even go one behind. I'm going to say we'll go behind first and then we'll just pull it back.
Okay, I'm going to go for an even tenser watch. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win. A win's a win. We'll take it, of course, but I reckon just a single goal. It's going to be interesting to see what 11 we can actually start with all these ragtag injuries that we seem to have picked up over the week. So, how we can predict Nuno's team, I don't know. I don't know if he knows his best team at the moment, but there's still hours to go before that all unfolds. So, yeah, I mean, let's be positive. I know it's not going to be easy, but we're top of the league, so let's stay top of the league and just keep rolling on. So yeah, that's it, I think, for this week. Just a short and sweet preview to get us going on Fridays. Of course, we'll be back on Monday with our usual podcast, which you can watch on here and also listen through all the standard audio channels. And if you are watching, don't forget to leave feedback. It all helps. We need to sort of learn on the job as always. So, everything's always good in terms of feedback, constructive or not. And I just also need to thank my 2 Pod Squad members this afternoon. So, Patrick, thanks for jumping on this afternoon.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me on again, as always. So, yeah, I'm excited and looking forward to tomorrow's game. I'm a bit nervous. I can't lie. I hate it. But then at the same time, if we get the win, then we can just relax with our feet up the whole weekend.
Wouldn't be Spurs if you wasn't nervous, Patrick.
No. And Karl, thanks for your time as always, mate. I look forward to chatting to you on Monday.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed this. And as you say, Dan, any feedback, more than welcome. And looking forward to chatting, hopefully, about a win on Monday.
Fantastic. Right. With that said, my name's Dan Tracy. And as always, come on you Spurs.